Hello out there in cryptocurrency land. Welcome back to Real Crypto. Today we're going to discuss the Bitcoin Cash trade. So the Bitcoin Cash trade, for some reason you're watching this in the future, November 2017, it ran from $600 up to $2,500 to its final maximum peak. As of right now, it's at $1,430. So let's dig into this Bitcoin Cash trade. And one thing I want to mention at the beginning, never forget a coin, because you never know what's going to run that can make you some money. All right, because that's the end of the game here. You want to make some money. So the first thing to notice with Bitcoin Cash is that it put in a very large cup with handle from the 700 level, came all the way down, came all the way back up to right about just under $700, and then it started to put in a handle. So here's your cup, here's your handle. Now let's zoom out so you can kind of get a bit of better perspective of that. So here's the 700 peak, here's the next 700 peak. We have a very nice cup here with a handle right there. Now one thing I want you to notice is this nice flat area right at the bottom. Right at the bottom, I want you to notice that, and that's kind of important. Okay, that's the first thing you should notice about any coin that is coming out from a downturn, like this was coming down from a downturn. Put in a very nice flat base area. Now the hard part with these flat base areas is that a lot of coins are going to put in this downward symmetrical pattern here. Sorry, let me get this RSI out of the way. A lot of coins are going to put in this large downward trend here. Okay, a lot of coins are going to do that, and you can draw this trend line in a number of ways. I'm just going to kind of arbitrarily draw it right there. But some people, and rightfully so, because a lot trade on shorter time frames, will draw it right here. And that's a very viable trend line as well. Okay, let's go back to the 2-hour chart. All right, so the hard thing is when these coins cross these declining trend lines, you don't forget about these coins when they break out of these declining trend lines and they go sideways. You just don't forget about them, mainly because you never know when they're going to go. So this thing broke out, failed, came back, and a lot of people would have dismissed it at this point. Now I have to admit I did dismiss Bitcoin Cash for slightly different reasons, but I did dismiss Bitcoin Cash. But I did take a trade in this, and I'll walk you through my trade as well. So that's the first lesson, is to never forget a coin. Never be anxious, never be early with your entry. There's a saying in trading, is even when you're early, you're still wrong. So you don't want to be early, you don't want to be wrong, you want to catch it at the right time. So the question is, where's the right time? Where do you get into this coin? Well, the first thing you notice is this nice run-up. This is a very nice little parabolic run-up. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on this run-up. The big action happens up here. But you have a very nice parabolic run-up. Okay, and this is the definition of a parabola at this moment in time. Oh, sorry, my drawing tool's in the way of my drawing. Okay, so here's your parabola. It starts to curl up, continues this parabola shape, and then just boom, goes straight vertical right there. That's your first parabolic run on Bitcoin Cash. Now, would you have taken this trade? That's up to you. A place that I probably could have taken the trade, even though I did not take this trade, would probably be right about here, right at the $368 level, overtaking this high, kind of overtaking this high again, and giving you kind of two confirmations that this is a run. And then you could have run it up here, and this is by far the largest candle with the largest volume of this entire run. So that would have been a very viable sell signal, and we're going to see that again in a little bit. These very large candles implying tops of runs. So that kind of puts the top in Bitcoin Cash right there. Then we flag out here, and you actually have another potential for an entry. Right there, crossing that trend line. We've already had this large parabolic run. Okay. Now on a percentage basis, this parabolic run, 65%. That's not a bad run. That's not a bad run at all in Bitcoin Cash. Now I will say this, if you guys are just looking over here at the percent change per day, per 24 hours, per hour, whatever your metric is, you still need to look at the charts, because if you break this run over 2 days, even 3 days, it's not going to look like a big run. It's just not. Okay, so you may glance at it, you may think it's nice, but maybe you don't trade on it actionably, because you know, Bitcoin Cash is Bitcoin Cash. It hasn't run for so long. All those biases can get into your mind when you're trading, and all those biases can actually bring you down, because you're gonna think, oh, this move's gonna fail like the rest of them. Well, guess what? Most of them will fail. Most of them have failed recently, but eventually it'll work out. So if you missed that, okay, and if you missed this run up off of this breakout, this one I think should be self-explanatory to most people. But just in case it's not, just real quickly, when this declining trend line gets broken to the upside on volume, you buy, okay? And this is extraordinary volume for this coin. So you buy, even if it's at the top of this bar, you buy it, and then you would have had a nice up move. Now, this up move wasn't met with any selling, it just stopped. Okay, this move just stopped. There wasn't any crazy selling. This could have been a bar you sold out on. Maybe you got shaken out on this bar right here with this large volume. But generally, there's really not much here to write home about. It was a very nice uptrend, and then it just kind of paused and corrected. And if you notice, the largest volume bar until we get this big shakeout, which we'll talk about in a minute, the largest volume bar was right here. This red candle right here had really good volume down here, and pretty much the largest volume ever since this top over here. And so large volume can put in tops and can put in bottoms. I want you to keep that in mind. It's not unilateral. It isn't just that large volume pops start runs, or large volume pops end runs, or large volume pops put in bottoms. It's all of the above, and you have to put it in the context of where you are in the chart. So if you're on the right side of this chart right here, and you see this large volume candle down here, and you see this bar being bought into, that's a potential bottom. You can buy right there. You can buy right there, and you would have been rewarded for a little bit. Okay, you would have been rewarded for a little bit. Okay, so we put in this handle right here, and this is the larger handle that I was referring to in the larger pattern from 700 to 700. All right, I actually noticed this coin for the first time. I did dismiss all these signals. I didn't catch this. I didn't catch this. I was busy in other coins, busy with life and things like that. You know, life gets in the way of trading all the time. Very frustrating, I know. So first I noticed this. I noticed this kind of W pattern happen. Okay, I noticed it didn't go up, didn't really break out, but this W pattern kind of stands for winner. Okay, you can kind of put that W in there. I don't have my drawing tool set up correctly for some reason. So this is a W pattern. These W patterns stand for winner, okay? And here's winner with a handle. So here's your handle and winner, okay? So there's your handle and winner. It didn't work out. We didn't break out, but that's okay. Because what we did do is we came down, we created another consolidation area above this low and above this low. And if you notice, these are all higher lows. So that's very good action. I did notice it when it was right about here. I noticed a large cup with handle. You notice the fact that this has a nice declining trend line in the same fashion that this did. And okay, this thing is setting up. That's what you say to yourself. This thing is setting up for a run. I need to keep an eye on it. Well, how do you keep an eye on it in a 24/7 market? Well, the best way you can do that is with an alert. All right, you pick an alert. In this case, if I noticed it here, I would have either put my alert right up here above this high, or I would have put my alert above this high. Either one would be valid, okay? Either one would be valid. Now, at this moment in time, the Bitcoin fork was going to happen. Bitcoin was on a massive run at this moment in time. It was starting to consolidate, but then this event happened, and this event was the cancellation of SegWit from Bitcoin. This is the SegWit 2 cancellation, and if Bitcoin Cash just crashed. I didn't look at the crash. Everybody was looking at Bitcoin. Everyone was looking at Bitcoin. Nobody was looking at Bitcoin Cash or most other altcoins for that matter. But the event happened, the cancellation happened. This came all the way down, and what do you know? What do you know? You have, just like we've seen in the past, a very large volume candle. And as we just discussed, volume candles can put in tops, they can put in bottoms, or they can make breakouts happen. So, looking at this chart, these are the big prior candles in terms of volume that Bitcoin Cash has had, and this dwarfs those. So this should put a shot over your bow that this is a coin to watch. There's money in this coin for whatever reason. They're watching it. They're wanting to do something in it. And you have your signal right here. It comes all the way down here to 500, gets bought up like mad, closes up at 575. Okay? That's your first shot across the bow saying you need to pay attention. And then we flag out right here, right against this trend line. I mean, sure, you can maybe draw this a little more technically correct if you want to, and put the trend line right there. Okay? Now this is where I got involved. I got involved because I saw this candle to the downside. I got involved because I saw this tight action. And something else that may be difficult to see due to this large volume candle is this is very low volume. Let's dive down. I'm actually going to dive down to the 15-minute, even though it's going to do weird stuff to my charts. It's going to put us way forward in this pattern too. But I want you guys to see this volume. That's the important part here. Okay. So we have this massive volume that puts this bottom in Bitcoin Cash. On the 15-minute, this looks a little more ominous than it is. But here, the large volume bar is on the buy side, okay? Large volume bars on the buy side. So this is still completely legitimate. And by the way, this 15-minute candle puts in a top, all right? Which precedes this action. So what I want you to notice is that after this massive volume coming in, everyone buying down here, selling up to here, it just gets really flat and really quiet really fast. So the volume doesn't even get above average for quite some time. A couple little pops, but nothing. And then boom, you have 3 volume bars in a row, at least on the 15-minute chart, of very good volume. That is early accumulation of a move. All right, so now we're going to break back out to the 2-hour chart. Let's have to find out where it dumps me when I do this. Okay. Bear with me, bear with me. Now the 2-hour chart seems too obscure, doesn't it, after looking at the 15-minute. But on the 15-minute, when you're looking for a breakout, it does help to go down to the shorter term time frames, okay? And now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should live in the 15-minute. But let's go ahead and do this on the 2-hour chart. I generally trade on the 2-hour chart. I will drill down, but the 2 hour is kind of my bread and butter. Okay, so right here we break out. Really good volume on this breakout, higher than ever since this low, the highest volume since this topping bar. And there's your signal. We break out of this trend line, we break out of this consolidation, and off to the races we go. So how far is this going to run at this point in time? Well, you have no idea, and I want to point that out, that you have no idea how far this coin is going to run at this time. You don't know this is going to go to 2,500. Okay, you're thinking, probably like I'm thinking, this thing's going to top out maybe at 1,000, maybe at 800, whatever you think this is going to top out at. This just goes to show you that your opinion is wrong. Anyone that said they knew this was going to 2,500 is full of shit, and they're lying to you. They're lying to you to sound smart. You have no idea where this coin is going to go on this bar. Zero. Okay, so that being said, we start to run a Bitcoin Cash. And one thing to notice here is that volume starts to increase. Okay? Volume starts to get bigger. That implies that there is a lot of action, people starting to actively accumulate this coin. And you see that volume increase even up into this candle here, okay? So we see volume increase, boom, you buy there. It has kind of a nothing buy here. Large volume, but not relative to this bottom. So one other thing to note is if you have recent volume history, you need to put it in context. So while this particular candle kind of did show topping, maybe you would have been scared. Hopefully you didn't sell because this candle dwarfs this candle, okay? So therefore, this takes precedence over this candle. Even though I say you have to live on the right side of the chart, and you do have to take history into account. So these guys that recently bought just a few hours ago are still in this trade. Okay, so this candle happens, you go higher on nothing volume. Hey, you're higher. The nothing volume doesn't necessarily matter at this point in time. This is a nothing bar. Then you go higher and higher yet. Now you're really interested. Now you're wondering what this thing can do. All right, you get higher volume, and this is where you notice that this volume bar of inclining volume starts to come into play, because this volume is high as this volume on this large bar. So now we start to put in a very small consolidation, and we break out of that. Break out of a very small consolidation. We make a run. Now this is high volume again, right here at this topping bar, but again, put it in context, it's not as big as this candle, okay? It's not as big as this candle. And the next volume bar here, now this would have been scary, this would have taken some people out. I was still in the trade at this moment in time, okay? I held through this candle. After this kind of run up, I figured there was more at work here. So this bar happened, okay, again, big volume. This almost equaled the volume of this bar. So at this point, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of buyers in this market, because this came all the way back down, came all the way back up, and closed in the upper part of the range of this particular bar, and I'm happy I made this trade. So then we continue to flag out, and then boom, we pop higher. And this is actually where I get out of this trade. This is where I exit this trade on this bar, on this volume. Look at this volume, dwarfs the rest of the volume, dwarfs this bar. The biggest price bar, the biggest volume bar of the entire run, and boom, 50%. Thank you. Have a nice day. That's my trade in Bitcoin Cash. I never did re-enter this trade. Bittrex actually closed my account down. I think due to identification problems. Even though I've been trading 3 months fine in Bittrex, the bastards closed me down for whatever reason. Still working on that right now, trying to get that opened. So I got out of this trade right on this candle bar. I'm going to dive down to the 15-minute to show you, because I was actually trading on the 15-minute at this moment in time. And on the 15-minute, my sell doesn't look good. And I kind of thought that in the back of my mind. I'm like, this doesn't really look like this move's done at this moment in time. On the 15-minute, the candle that I sold on wasn't necessarily the highest, but on the 2-hour it was. So I kind of took my 2-hour time frame and let that make my decision. So here's the bar that I sold on right here. Look at this volume on this bar. So on the 15-minute, the volume kind of made my hand. On the 2-hour, the price bar, along with the volume, kind of played my hand. So anyway, I sold right on this bar. I didn't sell on any of these bars higher. I sold on this bar. So I was pretty happy with that. Pretty happy with that trade. 50%, not going to be mad at that. And then it popped a little higher and then started to consolidate, which I kind of figured it would consolidate. You don't always catch the high. Okay, you never catch the high. You just get greedy if you think you're going to catch that high, and being greedy like that can really get you in trouble. So say I rebought this on this breakout up here, which probably would have been a very viable trade at this moment in time, because it just came out of this W pattern. Remember we talked about winner, we talked about W. Just broke out of this, and then yeah, this could have been a nice confirmation, a nice second leg up out of this consolidation, but it didn't. It failed. So it failed here, creating this nice little base right here. I actually went to bed that day somewhere over here. I don't remember exactly, but I went to bed over here. Volume was declining, thinking to myself, man, this thing could still have more legs. Okay, I didn't want to buy right after I sold, but I was interested after it put in this kind of a higher level base. The volume was declining at this moment in time. Nothing here on the 15-minute seeing there's a declining volume, but even though we had this candle here on the downside, it wasn't exponentially higher. You'll see volume later on get exponentially higher, but that wasn't the case here. So you still have to be interested in this coin. You know, try to not lose sight of these things as they run, because if you do, you're just going to end up in missing out on some large gains. So either way, I'm out of this trade. My Bittrex account is closed at some point in time. I didn't trade for a while. I was in cash before this trade. I caught this trade. I went back into cash. I mean Tether. I was cash. So Tether and Bittrex, I don't even know when my account was closed. They never even sent me an email notification, those bastards. Anyway, I went to bed sleeping like a baby. This thing fails, comes back up, puts in this nice flag pattern again, and then bolts. This was at 4 a.m. my time. I missed this. I was asleep. Yeah, you know what? 24/7 market. You get what you get. So I missed this run up, thinking to myself, crap, this thing ran again. I'm looking at that. I'm like, man, I would have bought that move. And I look at the time like, oh, it was 4 a.m. my time. I wouldn't have bought that. So anyway, this bolts. So if you're able to trade this 24/7, you notice this pattern. You notice this is a very similar pattern to what we broke out of from 600, right? We had a nice shakeout. We had a good volume candle for the bottom. We run up. We put in a flag. And then we start running again. It's the same thing. It did it once. It did it twice. Will it do it a third time? So big, huge run up here. There's zero reason for you to sell on this run up until you get to this big topping candle. Again, the biggest candle of the run, the biggest volume of the run so far, that is a good time to sell. So here's your second sell signal. Okay, your first one would have been on that 2-hour chart where I sold over here, or even anywhere up here would have been a good sell signal. But even if you held, you know, I can't be too mad at you. It still never broke these highs over here. This low coincided with this high. This one came down to the same level. So I still wouldn't be mad at you if you would have taken that. But keep in mind the type of market that we've been in. Really, no moves have ran like this in quite some time. Pretty much every move's been sold into at this moment in time. We're after the Bitcoin fork, so you have to keep in mind the market that you're in as well. And sometimes taking profits is better than letting a profit become a loss, or or even worse, detrimental to your account. So taking these things home overnight does seem rather difficult. Okay, so now we're upwards of 1,400. Keep in mind, we started this trade at 600. Now we're at 1,400. So get some perspective on this chart. So this nice run happens over the 960 level, consolidating just beneath the 1,000. And that's one thing I didn't talk about is the round number effect. So here's your 1,000 line right here. We popped above it. We broke down. You know, even if you're still in this coin over here, you sell when this goes over 1,000. I don't care. That's kind of a hard sell rule of mine. Is if you run from a lower level and you get towards a higher level, you just sell because you don't know what's going to happen, and you can always get back in. But if this thing crashes on, you know, say you've been holding this and you don't sell over 1,000, maybe you're holding on to this thing as it comes back down here towards 930, and then you sell. Well, you've just lost $70. Okay, you just lost $70, and maybe you get back in here because you think you missed out on the trade, and then boom, you buy it, and then it caves back in on you, and then maybe you take a loss on this candle. So always try to sell into these rallies if you can, and when you do, don't look to jump right back in. Take a look at the landscape. You have to look at, okay, I'm near 1,000. There's going to be players at work here. There's going to be people coming in at this round number, and they're going to sell into the euphoria, the people that bought lower, like myself, like I just told you. People are going to want to buy this over 1,000. You sell into that euphoria, okay? You as a quote-unquote professional trader want to do what everyone else is not doing. You sell into that buying, you take your profits, and then you just wait and see what happens. And if you wait and see what happened, you would have been rewarded with a nice entry over here at the 960 to 1,000 level. Okay? You would have sold at or near 1,000 and got right back in at or near 1,000 at a much lower risk point. This is very high risk. This is very low risk. Okay? So you buy here. Boom, 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 boom. Thank you, money. And you could have sold up here, and I would have sold on this candle. That's a crazy candle. That's very good. Parabolic move again. This whole run is parabolic, to be quite honest with you. Highest volume, except for this one candle. So, but like I said over here, on my 15-minute where I sold, right here. Hey, you know, looking at this move doesn't look like it's over. They like the volume at this level. They're comfortable with this. This isn't capitulation yet. Okay, now capitulation is buyers selling, or you know, people selling into frantic buyers, and vice versa. That's capitulation. We don't have capitulation here. This looks kind of like capitulation, but not really. And so say you sell here, okay, say you sell on this bar, congratulations. Maybe you sold upwards of this, you know, 1,300 plus level. Once this bar gets really extended to the upside, maybe you sell here because you don't want to be greedy, guys. You can't be greedy in the game. If you're greedy, you're going to end up with huge paper gains, but your realized gains are going to be negligible because you're going to get greedy and you're going to want this thing to run forever. It's not the case. That's not going to happen. Someone in my chat room, I'm not going to mention names, was talking about this. I forget exactly where, but they said, you know, I have a 3,000 target and it was at 1,500, and I'm like, that's just unreasonable. That's just unreasonable. And I mentioned you need to start taking gains because getting to 3,000 for 1,500 after a run from 600 is just unreasonable. Just unreasonable. You have to temper your expectations. As a trader, you can't let your emotions and your greed get the best of you. We're all here to make money. We're all greedy, but you can't be greedy while trading. All right? Anyway, life lessons. There you go. Big candle. Maybe you buy, maybe you sell. I don't know. But then, boom, you get another big candle, big volume, and then the volume tapers off, but the price doesn't taper off. The price consolidates, and we end up with this kind of a pennant pattern. And then volume declines throughout this entire move. Again, this move isn't done, everyone. This move is not done. Okay? And then it takes off again right here. Boom, takes off again. I'm not going to go over this topping candle. Hopefully you guys have seen that while you're watching this video. So I'm not going to go over all this pennant. We're already kind of long in the tooth here. We're just in at 26 minutes. Holy crap. If you're still with me, God bless you. So we're in this pennant. Then boom, we break out. Break out higher, 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 higher. Have a couple of candles here. Maybe this scares you a little bit, but again, keep relative volume in mind. I'm going to get this out of the way here. This is just going to taint your view of the chart. So keep relative volume in mind here. It's lower than this candle. So, and we're still higher. If you've bought correctly over here, And by this time, my Bittrex account was closed. I tried to take this trade. I could not. My Bittrex account had closed at this time, and I was beating my desk with my fists. Because I'm like, it's not done. It's going to do more. Anyway, so we come up here. You don't sell these bars. These bars you don't sell. Keep volume, relative volume in mind. It's also the same volume bars as these bars. So you want to give this room back down to the breakout point. So it never does that. It continues higher. And then boom, there's a climactic candle right there. Look at how big that candle is in relation to anything else during the move. That's a climactic candle. Hopefully you would have sold somewhere up here over 2,000. So the same law remains. And this is where I was talking to that gentleman in the chat room as we were going over 2,000. I'm like, I hope you get out up here. Big round number. You need to get out. You need to start selling at this point in time. I don't know if he did or not. But this is where he starts selling again. Again, the biggest volume of the move. The biggest candle of the move, another sell signal. You've had several sell signals and several entry signals at this point in time. Okay, and then what happens? We come down. This thing whips around quite wildly. This thing goes from 2,000 down here towards 1,600. And I caught this one live, and I want to show this to you guys. I know I'm really long in the tooth, but I want to show this to you guys. I caught this drop live. Let's go to the 1 minute chart. Okay, where are we? Now I need to get my bearings because it always does crazy things. Okay, here we go. Is that it? Oh, here it is. We're right here. So this is where we are in this particular pattern of the chart. We're just breaking 2,000 for the first time. We're just breaking 2,000 for the first time, and then this happens. Okay? And this is where I'm talking to this gentleman in the chat room saying, you need to get out. You need to get out. It's over 2,000. The words I say is you need to sell some because he was convinced to take it to 3,000, but you need to sell some here. So I actually have this video queued up just over 2,000 here, and I'm going to play it. I doubt you'll be able to hear it, but you'll be able to see this. This breaks down 15% in about 15 seconds.
All right, I'm recording this run from Bitcoin Cash 2,000.
Recording this live here. This is like the first red thing that you see for quite some time. Look at the volume here. Look at it happen in real time. Okay, look at that volume. Look at this candle. And I will say something about the volume on this candle. It's not that big. The volume isn't that big on this candle. Even though it is the topping bar, it does put in the top for the move. The volume on the candle itself isn't that bad. But just keep an eye on what happens. 33 seconds left in this bar. I don't know if it's this bar or the next bar, but again, you're watching a recording. I'm recording a video of me recording this move. I couldn't get it in during post-production. Alright, so I think this is where we start to go. 20 seconds left in this bar. And then boom, we're at 20,025. And I always try to get a better view. And then here we go. We're 20 seconds left in the bar, and this thing just caves in. This is why you sell during these big moves. I don't know what happened at 1,000. I don't know what happened at 2,500. But here we go. Boom, that candle's done. Right there, that candle's done. So 20 seconds, you went from up here
here's the
to
crash.
down here.
I knew it was coming after 2,000.
And this doesn't go much lower than this.
And then boom.
This doesn't go much lower than this. It does come down here, but I wanted to show you that because that is this candle in real time. That's 20 seconds. That's 20 seconds of 15% of your gain gone, washed out. Guys, learn to sell when you breach large numbers. Learn to sell on these huge run-ups. You have to learn that. Okay, so we come up here. We do have another good, and actually, I was still in the chat room. I did mention the gentleman to sell again up here. Actually, I was typing my message as this broke down. Okay, I'm trying to tell this guy to get out. I don't know if he listened or not, but I think he did get out in all cash. I just don't know where. So hopefully he got out up here or up here. Two very good sell points. And then this thing kind of flags out again. Now, I lost track of this trade at this point in time, so this I didn't do live. But I did say this doesn't quite look done. And we looked at this bottoming candle right here. And again, we talk about large talk about large candles putting in bottoms, putting in tops, and putting in breakouts. This particular one put in a bottom. I did mention this could be a short-term bottom here in Bitcoin Cash. Okay, look at that volume, the price bar, not very tall. And there's something said about volume. Okay, there's something said about volume. Volume tells you that big institutions are in play, whales are in play, people with money are in play. Okay, so the fact that there's this much volume with no downside action means that this is an accumulation bar. They are buying this bar, okay? They're buying this bar. So that's what told me a short-term bottom was in play. And then this was I'm recording this on a Sunday. This was on Saturday that I was looking at this. So you have a declining trend line here, okay? Now I actually haven't done analysis past here, to be honest with you, but I wanted to do the video on this particular top, but this continued on to 2,500. So this thing marches up to 2,500 and then just goes parabolic and then just fails massively. And we're going to get to that. But right here out of this bar, if you sold here, this volume isn't that bad on this bar. Okay, so even though I told the guy to sell here, I told him to sell here, you can tell this move isn't quite done yet. I don't know what it's going to do. And then I will say from here, things get sloppy, as you just saw. They just get very sloppy. You don't necessarily get a well-defined base to buy out of, but let's just kind of see what happens. So we have this declining trend line, which is different from these horizontal bases. These other bases have been very horizontal. They've been very orderly. This is not an orderly base. So your behavior starts to change here. And even though we're going to go into a climactic run, it's not an orderly climactic run. The base is not orderly. You should be on your tiptoes if you want to trade this one, okay? So, boom, we have these big drawdowns. We have this nice bottoming candle, and this is the low for the entire next move, and it never gets broken. Even this low comes down on higher volume and proceeds upward. Now, this is where you would buy in again. Not a very orderly place to buy. I would prefer that this were to be living up here, but it's not. It's living down here. So if you want to take this trade, there's a good buy signal right there. And then it just marches you upward. It just marches you upward. Now if you make your buy point, your stop, nothing really will stop you out of this trade. Now as we get up here towards 2,500, we have a nice big candle right here. Okay, but again, the price didn't come down very far, and then boom, it takes you back up, and we come all the way back up here, up towards round numbers again, 2,500, right? These big round, and this is a very interesting little area here because we're so high, the volume gets really low here, and then we pop out higher, big volume right here. This is what's called an engulfing candle. This is a sell signal. This is your sell signal right here. So maybe you're not going to sell the top, but maybe you sell here, maybe you sell here. But this is an engulfing candle. The candle goes above the highs and back down below the previous bar on the 1 minute chart here. Now, this kind of does that. This could be a sell signal, but this is a definite sell signal. And then hopefully you're out here at this point. If you're not out here at this point, if you've given it down here, you definitely need to sell when it pops up and fails right here. The volume isn't there at this point in time, but you have to learn price action as well as volume action sell signals. So even though we crossed this high all the way over here, this kind of is a really wide cup with a handle, almost a saucer with a handle. This particular one is very toppy, and the behavior changes. If you notice, we go from over here where you can really notice a well-defined trend. You can really start to notice the breakouts. You can really start to notice the shakeouts. But when we get up here, it changes. It's very crazy. It's very parabolic. It just goes straight up right there, and the volume is very high, and then it just fails again. Now, so where are we? Where are we right now in Bitcoin Cash? Well, okay, we're living in a high area. We're living in a very high area at this moment in time in Bitcoin Cash. Let's go out to the 2 hour. Okay, so right here in Bitcoin Cash, I'm sorry, let me just go to the 15 minute. There's just not enough data. So here we see our bases, guys. Here we see our bases. Thanks for hanging with me 36 minutes. Here we see our bases. We've got 600. We got a buy here at 882. We got a buy here at 980. We've got a buy here at 1400.